The victory. Sophia Bennett stood on the floor-to-ceiling windows of her penthouse, overlooking Manhattan, with a champagne flute poised at her lips and a smile that could cut glass. She had waited for this moment for 3 long years as Ethan Lawson's secret lover, his hidden treasure, his greatest prize. Now, with Claire Lawson vanished into thin air, just days before the trial that would have decided the family fortune, everything had fallen into place exactly as Sophia had orchestrated. The trial was supposed to be catastrophic for Ethan. A vicious custody battle over his billions with evidence that suggested financial misconduct and emotional cruelty. But Claire had disappeared, and without her testimony, without the woman who knew every secret, every affair, every lie, the case crumbled. The judge declared it impossible to proceed, and Ethan walked free, with his reputation mostly intact and his money completely secure. Sophia took another sip of the expensive Dom Perignon, feeling the bubbles dance across her tongue like liquid victory. She could already taste the future she had designed for herself. Designer penthouse? Check. Unlimited credit cards? Check. Access to one of the richest men in America? Check. And most importantly, the knowledge that she had outwitted everyone, including Claire, who thought she was so smart, so refined, so untouchable. She moved through the penthouse feeling like its queen, examining the marble countertops, the Italian furniture, the priceless art on the walls. All of it belonged to Ethan, but soon enough he would make it all hers, legally, officially, permanently. She had already begun rehearsing how she would redecorate, how she would throw parties that would make her the most envied woman in the city, how she would finally step into the spotlight where she deserved to be. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. He was stuck in meetings but promised to come by tonight to celebrate their newfound freedom. He wanted to take her somewhere expensive, somewhere exclusive, somewhere public enough that his associates would start to see her as his real partner, not his dirty secret. Sophia felt a flutter of anticipation mixed with something else, something she could not quite name. A small voice in the back of her mind whispered warnings, but she silenced it immediately. She had fought too hard for this moment, had sacrificed too much, had manipulated too many people to doubt herself now. Claire was gone. The trial was dead. Ethan was hers, and nothing could ruin this perfect, beautiful triumph. The penthouse felt like a palace, and Sophia Bennett, finally, felt like a queen. But queens must always be prepared for the moment when their subjects stage a rebellion. The letter. The knock on the penthouse door came at 7 a.m. before Sophia had finished her espresso. 2 men in dark suits stood in her entryway with federal badges and expressions that suggested they dealt with disappointment professionally every single day. Sophia felt her stomach drop like she was falling from the top of the building she stood in, but she kept her face smooth and cold as ice. Special Agent Marcus Webb explained they were investigating some matters related to the disappearance of Claire Lawson, and they had something to deliver personally. Sophia wanted to scream, wanted to run, wanted to deny everything, but instead she invited them inside while her mind raced through every possible scenario they might have uncovered. Agent Webb placed a single white envelope on her glass coffee table. The envelope was sealed and addressed in elegant handwriting that Sophia recognized immediately: Claire Lawson. The room seemed to shrink around her, and suddenly the air felt too thin to breathe. They told her the envelope had been found in a secure deposit box at a bank, with strict instructions to deliver it to Sophia Bennett only if Claire did not retrieve it within 30 days. The instructions also specified that the FBI should personally oversee the delivery, making this official business, not a casual gesture. After the agents left, Sophia stared at the envelope for what felt like hours. Her hands trembled as she reached for it. The paper felt expensive, smooth, and real, like everything about Claire had always been real, while Sophia's entire existence suddenly felt like a performance, a carefully constructed lie. When she finally opened it, the letter fell out, written in cream-colored stationery in Claire's distinctive script. "My dearest Sophia," she wrote, and Sophia felt her blood freeze in her veins. "I know what you have done. I know every manipulation, every lie, every calculated move you made to seduce my husband, to poison his mind against me, to turn him into a weapon against our family. I have known for longer than you realize. I have documented everything. I have recorded everything, and most importantly, I have made arrangements that ensure my disappearance leads not to your triumph, but to your complete and total destruction." But here is where it gets interesting, dear Sophia. Here is where you learn the difference between playing the game and understanding the rules. I disappeared willingly, not because I was running from Ethan, but because I was running toward justice. I wanted him alone with you. I wanted to see if he would choose real love over superficial beauty. I wanted to give him the chance to become the man he was always capable of being, without my presence to distract him. What happens next depends entirely on your choices. The letter ended there, unsigned and undated, leaving Sophia with more questions than answers, but one terrible certainty settling into her bones. Claire Lawson was alive and in control, and Sophia had just realized she was playing a game she had never truly understood.
The Empire Revealed. 3 days passed, and Ryan stayed in a luxury hotel suite paid for with his own credit cards. He tried calling Claire repeatedly, but she never answered. He sent flowers with apologies, messages with promises, texts with pleas for forgiveness. She remained silent and still. He grew increasingly desperate. On the 4th day, Ryan received an email from a lawyer. He opened it with shaking hands. His company was being acquired. The acquisition was happening immediately. All his assets were frozen, pending investigation into financial misconduct. The acquiring company was buying everything at a fraction of market value. He would walk away with almost nothing after taxes and debts paid. Panicked, he called his own attorneys, only to learn they had been fired by the acquiring company. They had a conflict of interest, they were told. Ryan felt the ground crumbling beneath him. He called Claire in desperation, finally reaching her. She answered calmly and asked him to meet her at a downtown office building. When Ryan arrived, he was escorted to a penthouse conference room. On the wall hung a massive logo for Donovan Enterprises. Claire sat at the head of a mahogany table, surrounded by executives and lawyers. She was dressed in a sharp, tailored suit, her hair pulled back severely. She looked like a stranger, and yet exactly like herself. Claire explained everything methodically. The shell corporations she had created, the billions she had accumulated, the network of contacts and influence she had cultivated. All of it invisible, all of it powerful, all of it hers. She told him she owned his company now. She had been acquiring his assets piece by piece for months, watching him squirm. She explained that Vanessa had been an employee all along, hired to test his loyalty. His affair was photographed, documented, and archived. She showed him contracts she had with Vanessa, proving the entire relationship had been orchestrated. His humiliation was calculated and deliberate. Ryan felt his legs weaken beneath him. Then, Claire softened slightly. She told him he had one choice. She could destroy him completely, expose everything to his family, his business associates, the press. She could ensure he never worked again, that he spent years in legal battles fighting charges of fraud and misconduct. Or he could listen to what she had to say. Claire explained that she had loved him once. She had married him believing he was a good man, worthy of her trust and devotion. But he had shown her his true nature, his capacity for betrayal, his fundamental lack of respect for her. She said she had orchestrated this entire scenario not out of malice, but out of necessity. She needed him to understand that consequences were real, that power was real, that she was real. She had spent years being invisible, being underestimated, being taken for granted. By her own husband, by the world. She had used her wealth to teach him the harshest lesson of his life. Ryan stood before the woman he had married and saw her completely for the first time. She was not the quiet, meek wife he had married. She was a billionaire, a visionary, a force of nature. He had never truly known her at all.